Hey guys, it's Rush G here, how y'all doing? This video I'm doing today is a beginner's video, so this should really be aimed at people that either haven't got the grasp of Street Fighter, so you've probably been playing online and you don't feel like you're getting out of bronze, you're struggling in silver, you need some help, or newcomers to the game. So if you're a newcomer to the channel and to the game, welcome to the channel. I've done a few beginner videos in the past. They were done way before I started doing this sort of thing, and looking back on them now, they're not very informative, they're not very easy to follow, they're very long-winded, and there's a lot of me talking. It's very difficult to find what you're after in that video, so I'm starting this video from fresh, so I'll include timestamps. The information should be clear and concise, and we'll only cover very basic topics. I'll try and keep the video as short as possible. So Street Fighter 5, it's a fighting game. It's basically the bread and butter of current gen fighting games, in my opinion. It's basically the unseasoned chicken of fighting games. You know, there's nothing flash, there's nothing really out there and crazy about it. It's pretty bland, especially in season 2/season 1 form, but it is a good fighting game. The fundamentals are all there. It's very easy to pick up once you understand the fundamentals, and that is the main issue with Street Fighter 5. Players that are approaching Street Fighter 5 don't understand the fundamentals. That's the key thing I seem to notice, and probably what you should take note of as well. So that's the introduction, guys, but I'll get right into the video now. We'll tackle things. So if you're a beginner, you know, you probably hear about frame data, you probably hear about confirms, frame traps, you probably read all about this information, you watch videos, and I'm going back to when I first started as well. It doesn't mean a fat lot until you've played some matches. So the first thing to do is, if you pick the game up, if you haven't played any matches, play online, get a feel for what's going on, get a feel for, you know, the way it plays, the pace of the game, and then come back to training, come back to the lab. So labbing is basically where you go into training mode and you can replicate scenarios that you've seen in matches. You can practice these things that are called hit confirms, practice frame data, so on and so forth. But they're not the fundamentals, they're not the building blocks to being a competent Street Fighter player. To be competent Street Fighter, based on what I've seen on a lot of the people that ask for help, a lot of their matches, I think to be good at Street Fighter, to have a good foundation, you need to be good at being able to space yourself correctly. And I'm not going to say play footsies. Footsies is a concept where you press buttons in neutral. So neutral is this situation where you're both facing each other and no one has the advantage. Footsies is establishing space and pressure, pressing certain buttons to either whiff punish or push your opponent back and score damage at the same time. To whiff punish is where you catch an opponent's limb with your own limb. So if he threw out a button there, a sweep would probably catch him because he's going to move forward. So that's whiff punishing. These are all terms. Don't worry about the terms too much at the moment because you'll get flustered. Just think of the building blocks as spacing. So spacing yourself nicely to attack, spacing, blocking, so blocking / defending, having good defense. Street Fighter 5 isn't a defense heavy game. It's, you know, you don't get far by being defensive, but having a solid defense is very important. So having solid defense, knowing to block lows, so while you're approaching an opponent, you know, blocking your feet, blocking your opponent's attacks, and, you know, stopping their forward momentum, and blocking on Wakeup. So Wakeup we'll touch later on in the video. So we've touched on spacing, blocking, so remember to keep blocking, and you want to be blocking at all times. As soon as you finish doing something, you want to go back to a block position, either it's stand block, crouch block. Anti-airs, so anti-airs are to stop opponents from jumping in on you. So we'll replicate this, we'll go into practical examples soon as well. Ken, if you play Ken, you should be playing Ken if you watch this video. His basic and go-to anti-air early on in the game is crouching heavy punch. It even stops people trying to jump behind you. If you get that early enough from a jump that lands behind the opponent, that will stop them. This won't work if you do it too late, so you've got to build your reactions in terms of crouching heavy punch. Spacing, defense, anti-airs, and I would say the fourth thing that's important is understanding the rock, paper, scissors of knockdown scenarios. I think those four things, there's probably other things as well we can look at, but I think those are the key things you need to look at. So with spacing comes with punishing. That's important. So with punishing will score you free damage. Defense will stop you taking damage. Anti-airing will stop people jumping in, because people will jump in at low ranks, and if you can capitalize on that, then you're going to do very well. And then the mix-up scenario on Wake Up, your opponent's Wake Up and your own Wake Up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the dummy to CPU. I don't know what level to put it on to show these examples. Let's try 6 initially. So this is spacing now, and I'm just defending. So we'll reset after a throw. So I'm not really going to try and do too much. I'm just going to stay at his range, and I'm going to press buttons when I think it's a good time to press buttons. That was a little bit of a complex scenario there, that was just muscle memory, but I'm not going to do special moves. Let's just use normals, and look at the normals that I'm using based on spacing. Anything like that. He's got 4 meter, so the CPU does some weird stuff, but let's just focus on the footsie game, on the spacing. So again, certain buttons to use, certain range. Of course I'm going to get hit, but maybe I should tone it down a bit. Let's go to level 5. Certain buttons to use a certain range. And look at the buttons I'm using. I'm not using sweep. There's ranges to use buttons as well. I know it looks like I'm losing here. I'm losing because the CPU does some weird stuff. The CPU can actually read what you're doing way before, well, before you've even, after you press the button, it'll do things on reaction. So that is your neutral. So your neutral, you're pressing buttons. Ken's best buttons in neutral in the footsie game, in terms of keeping pressure on, that's +2 on hits. Don't worry about the frame rate too much, but that means that you technically can press a button after that hits on, well, lands on block. That's plus as well. I think that could be +3 on block, I'm not sure. That's +2 as well. So his punches, these are all plus. So these are the sort of buttons that you want to use not to give up your turn. You will give it your turn because you'll push them out to a range where you can't reach them, but you're not forced to not press anything. Buttons like this, these are negative. These leave you at a point where you can't do much afterwards. Well, on paper you shouldn't be able to do much afterwards, but these have specific ranges as well. His sand heavy kick is very slow, but that's the kind of range you want to use it to catch them doing stuff. If they jump, you're screwed because that's very slow. You won't recover in time. But these are buttons that are minus. So where I see people, beginners, doing this all day long, that is -8. That's very punishable on block. This isn't a move you want to use too much. To whiff punish, yeah, is useful. They throw out a limb in that range, you can't catch them. But these are the sort of buttons you want to use. These two especially, these are very good pressure tools. They do okay damage. They're plus. If you're at close range, these are even better. But these are very good buttons. And don't sleep on his lights. That's good for checking people dashing. These are very good as well. So that's the ground game. These are the things you want to do. And as you develop with time, you'll be able to confirm the specials. Doing special moves in neutral is not what you want to do. The only special you want to throw out randomly is Tatsu, but even that's not great in Season 2. So get out of the habit of just doing things for no reason. Try and space things out nicely and just annoy your opponent. Eventually they're going to jump. So this is the next tip. So to practice your anti-airs, go to playback recording, record action, start recording, just walk back a little bit and get to jump in, and record another action, something like that. Just any, doesn't matter what it is, just anything. Just do a little walk back first to start the timer, and then do something afterwards. You can even do a throw or something. Turn these settings on, slot 1, slot 2. Now, all you gotta do this exercise is just crouch and heavy punch. Anytime he jumps, so he's doing stuff there. Whenever he jumps, crouch and heavy punch. This is a very good exercise to understand how to anti-air, and it'll get your brain ready for it as well. Maybe throw out a few buttons, but as soon as he jumps, be ready. Learn the timing of when to anti-air. If I do it late, if I show you a late one, you're playing this footsie game. As soon as he jumps, if I do a late one, watch. See, you can see there, he counter hit me. I've got a crouching heavy punch there, you can see on the left hand side underneath the damage information. I did do crouch heavy punch, but it's too late. That's the reason you're losing an anti-air scenario. But if you learn the timing and you're ready for it, it's why you're doing all this stuff. It's why you're trying to establish some pressure. See, there you go. So there I committed to the ground game a little too much and I was late in anti-airing. Let's try it again. Yep, fine, sorted. Just get into a routine of doing that. Practice in the lab and take it into online matches. Very important to do this. He will jump eventually. Let's see if he can try and catch me off guard. There you go. So I traded there because I was a little late, but I still committed to it, which is better than nothing. I didn't let him jump in for free on me. So that's spacing. That's anti-air. That's the way to practice how to anti-air as a beginner. We spoke about defense. So really the only thing to say about defense is if ever you're not doing anything, you should be blocking. You mainly want to block low. There's more fear of a low in Street Fighter than an overhead. Overheads are attacks that come from high positions. So a high hit, the jumping. You cannot block a jumping crouching. So jumping's a class as overheads, and the overhead moves. So Ken has two overheads: back medium kick and his thunder kick. Forward heavy kick. You have to hold it. So these cannot be blocked while crouching. These are reactable somewhat, so don't be scared of them too much, and they don't really convert to as much damage as a low. Well, it's character dependent, but for the most part you can't combo off these unless it's a specific situations. Ken has the combo off of that, which only work versus crouching opponents, but Ken's quite an exception to that. There are other combos, other characters as well, but some of them require overtiming setups and that. But be more scared of lows, so you need to block low. Don't sit there for the whole match blocking low, but if you're not doing anything, you should be blocking low. Still keep your movement, still move in and move out, but make sure when you stop, you're blocking low. If you don't do that, you're going to get hit all day long. If you're not blocking low, at least be pressing back. If the opponent's got pressure, you want to be hitting back, but you want to be ready for a low as well. That's really all there is to cover for defense. Defense is something you learn over time. There's nothing I can really do to help you with that. You just got to learn and get a feel for blocks. The last situation, so I'll try and replicate this, is the knockdown situation. So before we even go into detail, let's talk about what happens when you get knocked down. You have something called normal recovery, no recovery, and back recovery. I refer to them as no rise, no recovery, quick rise, normal recovery, and back rise, which is back recovery. It's the same thing. To do this, and you need to learn this when you're on the floor. If I set the opponents to again use the train in the same manner, playback recording, action recording settings. Let's record over slot 1. You need to walk forward, sweep me. Job done. Action playback settings. Let's turn that one off. We want to keep one on. So if he knocks me down now, I want to get up in different ways. If I do nothing, Ken takes a long time to get off the ground. If I mash, keep pressing down, I get up quickly. That's a quick recovery. If I want to back recover, back rise, just tap back when you hit the floor. See I bounce backwards? So back rise, tap back. Quick rise, tap down. And no rise, do nothing. Note that after a hard knockdown, so if you get crush counter sweeped, or if you get EXDP'd by Ken and Akuma, that forces you into a hard knockdown. Hard knockdown is where you cannot quick rise and back rise. Ken's CA, at the end of Ken's CA, if you've been hit, the opponent is in a hard knockdown state. They cannot quick rise. That situation comes up in quite a few scenarios, just be wary of that. Also as well, if you get thrown forwards or backwards, you can quick rise, you can delay rise or no rise. You cannot back rise after a throw. I think if you back rise, you end up quick rising. It just defaults to quick rise. So remember that as well. So quick rise will get you off the ground very quickly. It's obviously why it's called quick rise. But people expect you to quick rise because they expect you to want to get off the floor as fast as possible. Quick rise is good if you want to get back into the game and don't want to deal with pressure to some extent, but in most scenarios everybody expects you to quick rise, so they'll be ready for you to be on the ground to set things up while you get off the floor. Back rise throws a lot of people off. It's really good in bronze and silver. Back rise, keep tapping back before you touch the ground, you'll back rise. With back rise, it throws off people's setups after you've been knocked down. Setups we'll discuss shortly. I'll go into that in some detail now, well, in a minute. But back rise is good for throwing off people's setups, but back rise, you take longer to get off the ground than a quick rise, and you propel yourself backwards, so you push yourself sort of closer to the corner. You don't want to be in a corner in Street Fighter. Doesn't matter who you play. If anyone has you in the corner, you're screwed. You haven't got position in the corner. You want to get your opponent to the corner, or at least be in the middle of the arena. No rise is quite good if you want to throw off someone's complex setup. So someone has a complex setup, no rise helps avoid those crap setups. But some people, as you get more advanced in the game, people are able to react to no rise, so they can see when you no rise, they'll get ready to attack you by timing it by eye. Other people have actual like setups to cover quick rise and no rise, so they'll whiff the quick rise setup, but they'll be like, right, okay, he's not getting off the ground, let me set up the next setup. It's going to get them as they no rise, well, delayed rise. So that's how it works when you're on the ground. So let's go into let's talk about the rock paper scissors, about when you knock the opponent down, the guessing game. So this is where people struggle, I think, lower ranks. So I'm going to set up more scenarios. We'll do it on, go back to dummy, and we're going to set up wake up actions. Guard actions are actions that the dummy will perform after they're blocked. Wake up actions are actions that the opponent will perform after they've been knocked on the floor. So let's cover the majority, the most important scenarios. So record slot 1, we're going to do a jab. Oh no, what am I doing? I'm going to record them first before I set them. So I set interval settings to 1. Record slot 1. Let's just mash jab. Mash it as fast as you can. You want to see reversal appear on the right hand side, so keep doing it until you see reversal. So this is what we call wake up buttons. It is annoying this, but just keep at it. So there you go, reversal, jab, wake up buttons. Wake up EXTP. I'll explain what that is in a minute. There you go. So Ken has access to a wake up invincible reversal, fully invincible reversal. That's why we want to do that. We want to block. Don't know if that's going to work. The block never seems to work when I want it to work. Alright, I think that should work. Let's try that. So do nothing, just down back. You have neutral jump. And we'll do throw as well. There you go. So we've got 5 scenarios now. I'm going to turn them on in turn to explain them all. Before we go into any more detail, so wake up invincible reversals, they all cost meter in this game. Not every character has access to them via 1 bar form. So 1 bar is where you got 1 bar of EX. So Ken's wake up invincible dragon punch is a 1 bar move. Costs 1 bar of his EX meter, and people do that because they don't want to deal with any pressure that the opponent sets up on wake up. The pressure the opponent can set on wake up, or you can set on wake up, are things called meaties. So you can have a meaty normal. Don't want to go into too much detail, but a meaty normal on your wake up is a normal attack that lands that you're forced to block because it's active. It's in a hitting state as you get off the ground. You cannot reversal it. You cannot press a button and interrupt them. That hit, it's active. The fist is on your face or the leg as you get off the ground. You have to block it. You cannot do anything. There's meaty normals. There's meaty grabs. So the grab is active as you get off the ground. So you have to either avoid it or grab back to cancel the grab. And really overhead, I guess. Overhead is it's another meaty setup, but you set up an overhead attack which you cannot block low, so you have to block high for that. That's the 3. The 4th one, I guess, would be to do nothing, but to bait something out. That's 4 scenarios. The 5th scenario will be delayed meaties and delayed buttons, but don't worry about it too much. You're not really going to see much of that lower rank. That's something higher we can discuss at a later date. So that's the kind of pressure to expect on your from you. Well, that's what sort of pressure you should apply if you have the knockdown. If you're knocked down, expect those things to happen. One of those 4 things. It's really important to understand every single situation I've explained there in great detail. So wake up options. So number 1 is set. Let's set him to quick rise. Wake up buttons. So wake up buttons, they're a risk. They work if I set up a meaty and I mistime the meaty, so it doesn't actually land active as the opponent gets off the ground. If it's a little bit out, wake up buttons will win. And wake up buttons can lead to big damage if they confirm or they set something up like Akuma does. Wake up jab, V trigger, and he can combo after the V trigger activation just off the jab. That's because he 3-frame jabbed you on your wake up. 3-frame jab is the fastest move in the game, and it carries the least amount of risk as well. So it's the obvious one to choose as you wake up, but you can beat up wake up buttons with meaty attacks. So let's go for a common knockdown now. A common knockdown for Ken. Let's go for that. So I'm going to dash forward and block after that scenario. Actually, I'm not going to dash forward, I'm just going to block. So I've avoided the wake up jab, but I have no pressure on that situation at all. I've given pressure to them now. I've allowed them to get off the ground and pressure me. They've pressed a button, and that's actually +2 on hit. So they're 2 frames ahead after that. You've given up pressure. You don't want to do that. You also don't want to do this. That just doesn't make any sense. You've given up pressure for no reason, especially early on the match. You wouldn't want to do that at all. You have the pressure. There are situations you may want to do that, but we'll talk about it later on. How to beat wake up buttons? Set up a meaty. And that was a mistime meaty. These aren't, so don't have too much detail. These aren't defined setups, but I'm going to try and press a button that will land meaty on his wake up. I'm not going to set something up flowchart it. I'm just going to do it raw. Let's try it again. I'll try a better button this time rather than that. There you go. So the meaty there is the crouching medium punch. You know it's meaty because and it's hitting as well. It's working against the wake up buttons because you're getting counter hit. If you do a meaty and then press a button on wake up, it will counter hit. So that's how to beat wake up buttons with a meaty. And with a meaty you can get confirmation. Confirmation is where you use 1 button or more to cancel into a special for more damage. So that's where you should be using Ken specials at the end of a confirmation, rather than just raw in the middle of a match. So that's how to beat that situation. You can also do an overhead, and that will work in that situation as well. The only reason that works is because that's active as they press a button. It's not hitting them while they're crouching. If he was crouch blocking, it would work. We'll go to that in a minute. The next option is the wake up DP. It's the aggressive approach when you've been knocked down, when you want to steal back a turn, but it carries huge risk. So same knockdown, I block because I expect them to do the DP. I can see they got a meter. I down back, block it, and what happens there is they leave themselves open to a crush counter combo. When they do a DP and they land, they're in an automatic counter hit state. No matter what I do, see now, no counter hit. Automatic counter hit state, which leads them into counter hit combos. These buttons, Ken's heavies, in a counter hit, in a free counter hit scenario, they crush counter. If I get the timing right. Crush counter is just a fancy counter. All it is it's the same amount of damage as a normal counter. It adds 20% more damage to the normal, but it will give you specific combos you never normally get off this hitting normally. For example, You get no juggle here. He just hits. Go for 80 damage. Oops. If I do this now, you get an extra 20% damage and you get a juggle. So I could do something like that. That's free if they wake up DP. So to beat wake up DP, you have to block it. Best to crouch block, but best to block. And remember to use your crush counter buttons on the way down. You don't have to do a mad combo. A crazy, well, I say a crazy combo. A more advanced combo would be like, something like that. You don't have to go for stuff like that. Just keep it simple. Don't worry about getting the follow up. I was saying in another video I did, somebody else. Something as basic as that. That will do. It's easy to do. All you do there is just do heavy punch, heavy kitatsu. That's all you're doing. But it'll work. And as you get better with time, you can develop that. So we've covered the DP. I should make note of this as well. EXDP is the only full invincible reversal. That doesn't have invincible frames during initial startup. You can be meted out of that. Likewise, you can be meted out of medium punch DP. That is only fully invincible against air attacks. The initial frames versus the ground, it's not fully invincible, so do not use that. If you're going to use another DP on Wake Up, it's the light punch DP. That's only fully invincible versus throws. So if somebody does a meaty throw on you, tries to throw you on your Wake Up, you can do that. But you can be crush countered or counter hit comboed off of all of them. So if you want to beat anything they do, EXDP. The only time you should medium punch DP really in theory is an anti-air against an air attack, but that's a more advanced anti-air. You can use it on Wake Up, but it's not good versus solid meaty attacks on opponents. Heavy punch DP, it's a bit unique. It's more of catching things on reaction. So if somebody throws a fireball late, you can anti-air. You can go through the fireball using that, or you can use it as a ranged anti-air if they're jumping from a distance. But it can trade. Stick to EXDP for Wake Up. If you want to get more solid, if you want a better foundation as a player, stick to EXDP. Keep your eye on your meter and make note of where you can't EXDP and Wake Up. The only other invincible Wake Up people get are CA. You can Wake Up and do CA, and that is fully invincible as well for a majority of the cast, but it's a bit of a waste of meter. The only good thing about that is that you won't get crush counted after it like the DP, but you're spending 3 bars, it's quite a risk to take. You've got to be really confident to use that on Wake Up. I don't tend to do it too often. So that's that one. So this should be blocked. Yeah, this is an awkward one. It doesn't really work well when you record it. Let's try it again. Let's just try that, see if it works. Okay, yeah, that's an annoying one. That's frustrating. So we can simulate that in another way. It's not how I like to do it. Set the opponent to guard everything. Guard is good. The only thing that breaks guard is grabs and command grabs. So he's blocking that. Look, he's blocking everything. If I do overhead, if I do a jump in, do a DP, he's blocking everything. But he's vulnerable to throws. If your opponent is defensive and he's blocking your meaty normals as they wake up, throws them. And you'd eventually make them snap and they'll press a button. If they got reversal, they'll wake up DP. They'll do something to get out. And you can keep doing that to keep blocking. Same in neutral. If you fight a defensive opponent and it keeps blocking, dash grab will destroy that altogether. It will catch them off guard. It will beat their defense, and it will eventually work to the corner as well. So that's the way to beat blocking. People that block, grab. As simple as that. Next option, go to turn, guard all off now. Neutral jump, okay, it's an interesting one. So, neutral jump will beat, same as backdash, will beat grabs. That's the way to beat grabs. It's not the best way to beat grabs, but it is a way to beat grabs. If I knock him down, so I do the same knockdown before, you can see if I try and throw back to back as well. It doesn't work. So how do you beat that? To beat that, don't neutral jump with the opponent. That's what you don't want to do. Meaty normals. It stops them from jumping. They don't even get off the ground. If you time it right, they don't even leave the ground, but they leave themselves open because they're not blocking. And you can confirm as well, if you know a good confirm. If you do throw and a jump, if you're very fast, you can anti them on the way down. It's good to learn that. It's not that difficult, you're just very fast to react, but that's very, very good, very, very useful. That's why people neutral jump. I don't advise neutral jumping on an opponent's wake. So if you've got the advantage, so if you've got the knockdown, neutral jumping really gives away pressure. The only time it really works, what we touched on earlier on, is if go back to the DP situation. I think it was this one. You can jump over certain dragon punches. But that comes with massive risk. Not massive risk, but you're giving away. You're guessing then. You are confident in what they're going to do, so you avoid it. If you neutral jump and they don't wake up DP and you do it again in the wake up, best not to do it until they give you a reason to. Do things on knockdown, with the knockdown, based on your opponent's decisions, choices. The initial thing you do on a knockdown is you set up a Meaty. That's always the first go-to thing, and from there you can see what your opponent does. If they get counter hit, they're waking up with buttons. If they neutral jump, they should still get hit, but there'll be no counter hit. If they backdash, they'll get counter hit, because they go into a counter hit state on backdash. If they neutral jump and you try and if they tech, which I'll show you in a minute, they grab, then you know to Meaty as well. You've got to go through the motions. What I'll do is I'll explain the rock paper scissors scenario, what beats what, in the description, so that'll help get a visualization of what beats what. Literally rock paper scissors. We spoke about just then the wake up grab. So the wake up grab, that's really the last main option. They're trying to, so if you're doing throws, that's the way to beat, that's another way to beat, well, to take the pressure away from throws. You can see he did a throw escape on me then. I tried to throw him again, and the throw escape was on my side then because I was a bit late, but that's the way. That's another way to avoid throws. You can neutral jump, you can backdash, or you can throw. Proper Street Fighter players will tech the throw. That's what they'll do. They won't neutral jump. Backdash is actually quite a good tactic to use. I'd probably say it's better than neutral jumping. But then you're in a counter state, which means more damage if they backdash. Throw is the more respectable, and it's the proper way to do it. It's the, you're not sort of just doing something random. There's a reason why you're trying to negate the pressure by taking back. But with throws come this thing called shimmies, which is not good. When you're throwing and you miss, you're vulnerable. You get hit by shimmies. Shimmies are a more advanced technique. Don't worry about shimmies now. The reason I say don't worry about shimmies now is because people do not tech in lower down ranks. They refuse to tech. To be honest, in Street Fighter 5, you probably get more damage by getting shimmied than teching. But playing somebody like Ken, you can get throw looped over and over again in the corner. You probably see this setup all the time where you see the light kick, throw again. Ken can keep doing that until you die. So in the corner against Ken, you want to tech to some degree, but then he has a very good shimmy game as well. But his shimmy game leads to more damage, so it's, there's layer upon layer here. So my advice to you with the Meaty game is probably this is taking the most of the video up, is to Meaty the opponent on their wake up. Don't neutral jump, don't backdash, don't walk back, stay in the face and Meaty them on wake up. Even if it's just that, that's fine, until you learn some proper confirms. That's a very good beginner confirm. Just do that. Once they have meter, they're probably going to wake up DP. Try and have the read on them and bait it out. And because you're a pro now, because you've practiced your crush counter combos, when that DP comes out, you're ready with the crush counter punish. Guys, I think for beginner, that's all you need to focus on. So slow your game down, think about options, and apply accordingly. So the things you don't want to do is you don't want to keep jumping. It does help somewhat, but don't keep doing it. It's a bad habit. You don't want to keep sweeping. You don't want to keep doing specials unsafe in neutral. You want to think about what you're doing. Look at where your opponent is. Look at your position. Work your opponent to the corner. Pressure them. Make them do silly things. Make them jump at you because you're pressuring them. Oops, not like that. Because you're pressuring them. They're eventually going to jump. And when you get the knockdown, pressure them some more. Meaty them. That's the best meaty button, in my opinion, that Ken has. Simple as that. Another tip as well, nothing to do with hit confirms, because that we can talk about that at the next video. Once you've got V trigger, don't activate your V trigger raw like this. Don't do that. Try and activate off of a hit. When I say hits, I'm talking about his medium punches, his heavy kick. I think that's the main ones really. As a beginner, these are probably the two buttons you want to activate on. If you do activate, if you hit the opponent, that's a really easy link. It's very, very basic, very simple to do. It works on crouch and medium punch as well. Ideally, you'd want to go for something like this. The very minimum. Crouch and heavy punch, like Tatsu, heavy punch DP. But this is a beginner video. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. The reason why I'm pointing this out is because I'm saying don't waste your meter. If your meter's there and you can close the round out, use the V trigger. The V trigger is very powerful in this game. It'll open up to more damage, bigger combos. Keep the V trigger setups very simple. Don't go for any mad stuff now. Even be brave and actually no. I was gonna say if they block it and you activate, you can't combo then. So Ken is plus if he hits one of the punches, the medium punches, and then activates. So you can set up things after that, but as a beginner in that situation, you're probably best to do something like throw or something, or just block, because they'll probably DP or do something crazy. But I don't want to go too much detail into what you should do on activation. We can do a whole video on activation, a V-trigger activation at another date. So those are the fundamental things I would recommend to a beginner picking up Street Fighter, especially playing Ken. Ken is a very difficult character to play as you hit higher levels, and I've come to that conclusion. Well, I've come to that conclusion many times, but now fighting higher rank opponents, it's getting really tough for me where I am. I'm struggling. I'm not going to lie, I'm struggling, really struggling. But I'm looking at ways to improve myself based on the way that I play the game. So that's the way for you beginner guys out there to approach the game initially. Once you're happy with that, you can then progress on to more advanced stuff. But really, those are the things you need to confirm to practice on. So work on those first. Go in the lab, replicate what I replicated here and try those scenarios out. Take them to matches. If they're not working, look at the things you're losing at. Are you doing crazy random stuff? Are you throwing out specials that are causing trouble? Then lab those situations. Try and learn why what you're doing is not good and why it's making you lose matches. I think that's about it, guys. I don't think I can give any more information. I don't want to talk too much longer because it'll make it a long video. I'll timestamp stuff to break the sections down. Hope that's been helpful, guys. Any question, any feedback, let me know. One thing I can't do now is, and I really apologize about this, I can't view replays, I can't analyze people's matches, I can't give any direct feedback. As much as I'd love to do that, it's getting very impractical to do that now with the amount of demand I'm getting. So I apologize about that. But if you ask me questions, I can try and help you through comments, and I can also tailor videos towards those questions as well in future. That's a better thing for me to do. I can tailor the videos to help you generally rather than directly. So guys, hope that's helped. I hope that's better than my old videos as well. Cool. I'll let you go. Catch you later on. Take care.